each and every one of us, once we agree on a tax regime, each and every one of us must pay their part of taxes. We cannot continue to operate in a space where those in power exempt themselves from paying taxes using all manner of instruments, while those who do not have as much power pay tax. All I am saying is that the good people who are used to exempting themselves from paying tax, their day is up. Every citizen must pay tax. That's all I'm saying. And it doesn't matter. Even if they sponsor demonstrations so that they don't pay tax, I want to promise them they will pay tax. There's no more exemption. This country is not the animal farm, where some are more equal than others. We are going to have a society where every citizen carries a fair share of our burden to raise taxes. I am not talking about additional taxes. I am talking about taxes that have been agreed upon by Parliament and signed into law. Parliament is the national forum where the people, through their representatives, reason together on a continuous basis. Speaking with each other is the essence of the institution, through debate, consultation, and negotiation over every matter until an acceptable position is reached. Parliament is not a place for picketing or heckling or holding demonstrations or holding other institutions at ransom. I must respectfully observe that the emerging practice of litigating disagreements through the courts not only contradicts the essential purpose of parliamentary institutions, it demonstrates the failure of Parliament at the level of institution and at the member level. The people elected members of the National Assembly to perform their work through Parliament, not the judiciary. If the people had wanted their representatives to litigate their matters in the courts, the Constitution would have provided for the elections of magistrates or judges, not parliamentarians. What I'm trying to say is the following, that there will always be issues, and I want to encourage the leadership of Parliament and the collective body of members of Parliament, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate, that we cannot continue to take our disagreements to the judiciary. If anything, we are surrendering the legitimacy of the houses to the judiciary. And the only beneficiaries of these litigations are those people the Speaker was talking about. The vexatious litigants are the only beneficiaries, and of course, the good people. I do not want to run into trouble with lawyers, but they are the only other beneficiaries of those litigations. So I would really encourage Parliament, if Parliament actually has the power to constitute itself into a court, how does one court take another court to court? You know, it really must be something that Parliament must really think about. And members from across the divide should be able to provide leadership in a manner that we can be able to create consensus on issues that affect the Houses of Parliament. I agree entirely that we must cut the cloth that fits us. We cannot continuously have an oversized budget and imagine that there will be some miracles that will happen. When I came into office, we had a budget that we needed to borrow 900 billion. And I thought that was reckless and irresponsible. I cut it down to 600 billion. I will be presenting shortly our revised budget that will actualize the context of national budgetary decision-making, balancing limited resources against the demanding needs for equitable allocation and avoidable obligations makes hard and unpopular decisions inevitable. The scope of our budgetary ambitions is firmly dictated by our ability to finance it through available revenue-raising measures. Service delivery depends on appropriation of available resources, and it is quite clear that not every item we deem urgent and necessary will be financed. It is our duty to avoid increase in budgetary allocations regardless of financing capacity, and to endeavor at all times to use our offices as servants of the people to ensure that government lives within its means. And that is a collective responsibility, both by the executive and by the legislature, that we ensure that our budget-making process is aligned to the resources that we have. This calls for us to bring back our expenditures within sustainable limits. Our recurrent expenditure currently outstrips revenue collection. You will recall that in our last interaction, I directed the National Treasury to reduce budgetary allocation, as I said, in this year's budget by about 300 billion. The reductions are going to be included in the supplementary budget for your consideration once the House resumes, and I am counting on your understanding and leadership to minimize non-essential expenditure. And let me commit to this August gathering that we will continue to explore avenues of building synergy between what you do and what the executive is doing, and I have no intention whatsoever to compromise the oversight role or the independence of Parliament. Parliament must always defend its independence and must always act independently as is required by the Constitution, as we do in the executive and as we do and as the judiciary does, all understanding that we serve the same people, but we have to do so from different platforms. It is now my pleasant duty, honorable members, to declare this seminar officially open. I wish you very fruitful deliberation. May the good Lord bless you. Asante.